I want to talk today simply from the subject, trust the process. Trust the process. Please remember that there is no progress without process. God has a process in everything that He does for us. He processes us. Not because process feels good. Most of the time, process doesn't feel good. It's an uncomfortable situation. It is difficult. But just as he mentioned that these light afflictions, they are temporary. They are temporary. And the thing that I want you to know today is that the temporary will eventually yield to the timeless. There is a way of what you are experiencing right now. Don't judge all of your life by what's happening in the moment, because your life is more than what's happening right now. The moment shouldn't spoil your whole day. I see people that bump into a nasty, cantankerous person. And if you live long enough, you're going to find difficult people. Folks that's put in the world just to be a pain in your side, a thorn in your neck. Some of you all would use other terminology that I don't use, but I could point to a few people who are here that could express in your language, really what I'm talking about. But the temporary will eventually yield to the timeless. So you don't let difficult people, trifling people, negative people, criticizing people, your experience with them for 5 minutes, don't let that ruin your whole day. You have to learn how to bookend and say, you know what? You have to just stop it from coming into your spirit to where you carry the offense of something stupid and insensitive and inconsiderate that another person said or did against you, and you allow what one screwball did in your day to ruin the whole day. You have to be able to say, you know what, I'm glad that's over now, and let me move on to some greater experiences that God has in store for me. Don't ever make the temporary the permanent. You have to keep the perspective. But God has a process. You have to learn to trust the process. You have to learn to trust the process. Listen, when God is trying to develop patience in you, guess how He does it? By putting you in situations when you're impatient. He will bring it to where you are just, it's like, hurry up. Hurry up. He'll send you down to a government office. And He'll use that as a process to develop patience in you. Let patience have her perfect work. It has a work to do. It's a part of the process. So you have to trust the process. And let me say this to you. Here, the Apostle Paul writing to the church at Corinth. The church at Corinth was a spiritually gifted church. They were abundant in the gifts of the Spirit, but yet they had terrible carnality as well. And now the Apostle Paul is talking to them, and he's saying, we're dealing with such deep persecution. We're troubled on every side, but we're not crushed and perplexed, but we're not driven to despair and cast down, but we're not destroyed. He was going through this whole thing about all of the negativity that they were dealing with and how God was preserving them in the midst of that, but pouring His heart out. And I just want you to understand that the presence of God is perhaps the very best place for you to process your pain and your disappointment. The presence of God is perhaps the best place for you to process your pain and your disappointment. The psalmist, Psalm 61 verse 2, notice what he said. From the ends of the earth I cry to you. When my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. There are some times that your heart is going to be overwhelmed, and that's when you need to be led to the rock that is higher than you. You got to go to Jesus. Jesus is that rock that followed them in the wilderness. You got to be able to go to the higher place. Whenever you are hurting, whenever you're in pain, whenever you're disappointed and let down and offended by human beings, you got to go to that rock that is higher than you are. It is the best place in the world for you to be able to process your pain and your disappointment. Take it to Jesus first. I'm not saying that you don't need to talk to people and share it with others that love you and are concerned about you and can help you through the process, but don't take it to others before you've taken it to the King. I know Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, and Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, and they called all the king's horses and all the king's men. Why didn't they call the king? To help put him back together again. You got to call the king. Touch somebody and say, call the king. You got to be able to say, I need to go to a rock that is higher than I got to pull rank on you right now because you're messing with God's child. And the Lord said, it is better for you to put a millstone about your neck and throw yourself over into the midst of the sea. You have to sort of threaten people every now and then and say, don't let me pull rank on you. Don't let me bring my daddy in this. Don't. Because I'm going to the rock. You're messing with the wrong one. You're messing with the wrong one. There's more to me than what you see. There's an invisible power that is behind me. There is a God who is my defender. And because I trust in him, I trust in him. Anybody know what I'm talking about? What it means to trust in Jesus, and you have a backup that people really cannot see, but God has your back. Trust the process. Trust the process. Trust the process, because God becomes the defender of those who refuse to defend themselves. God will be their defender. He is their defender. Just realize there's a process. And you don't always understand why you have to go through what you have to go through, but you have to go through in order to get to. It's about a process. It's about a process. I love the words of John Newton, who said that everything is necessary that God sends our way, and nothing can be necessary that he withholds. If God withholds something from your life, you don't need it. And if God sends it, it is necessary. It is necessary. God guides by what he provides, but he also guides by what he withholds. And you have to realize that when God withholds something that you're asking for, God knows something about that situation that you don't know. You better thank the Lord sometime that he didn't give you every childish and immature thing that you were praying for. I meant some people that you were praying for, Lord, give me so-and-so. And you thought so-and-so was so cute and had it all going on. And now you see them years down the road and they broke down and jacked up. You better thank God that he didn't answer every crazy prayer that you prayed in your immaturity, in your lack of spiritual discernment. You better just thank God that God didn't give you everything that you asked for. When God withholds some things, it's about guiding you into a place through a process, Because God makes choices and he sends provisions, and God sends experiences in your life based on your future and not your feelings. I want you to understand that God will send things into your life based on your future and not your feelings. And practically everything in your past was getting you ready for your future. You have to trust the process. Trust the process. Trust the process. Realize that the past does not define you, it prepares you. It doesn't define you, it prepares you. It's a part of a process that everything that you went through was to get you ready for who you are right now. You know more now than you've ever known all the days of your life. You are more prepared now. You're more prepared now. And I'm just going to tell you this, your failures teach you much more than your successes. You had to go through that. You have to fall to learn how to stand. You have to fall to learn how to walk. It's a part of the process. Joseph's brothers prepared him for Egypt. It didn't feel good when you have your own brothers, to sell you into slavery and plot to kill you and do all of that. But notice how Joseph responded to his brothers in Genesis chapter 50, verse 20 and 21. Joseph said to them, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it all for good, He brought me to this position so I could save the lives of many people. Now don't be afraid. I will continue to take care of you and your children. So he reassured them by speaking kindly to them. And you see, here's what Joseph had to do. Joseph had to remind them that I didn't let how you treated me define me. And he says, I'm not going to treat you the way that you treated me. I'm going to treat you as I have grown to become. So he treated them out of the maturity of who God grew him up to be through all of the negativity and the evil stuff that was plotted against him. He was like Maya Angelou, who said, I wouldn't give nothing for my troubles. Because your troubles help to make you who you are. And I want to say this to you, stop fighting your preparation. Stop fighting what God is using in your life to prepare you for your next level. You've got to always climb up a hill. Every time that you go from one level to another level, you're going to go through crisis. You're going to go through a period of tremendous discomfort. You go from comfort to discomfort to greater comfort. Trust the process. Comfort to discomfort to greater comfort. Every time that God gets ready to take your life to another level, you go through the corridor of transition, which is terribly uncomfortable because it is uncertain. And you're going through this thing, but God has a plan. Trust the process. Stop fighting the preparation. Stop fighting the adversity that God has put on your journey to build the strength that you're going to need to survive on the next level. Because God can't bring you up to the next level if you just let the way that a person look at you ruin the rest of your day. If you let what somebody else said about you, God can't even promote you into a leadership position if you're concerned about the opinions of people. He's got to get you into a place where you know, I don't care whether you like me or not, as long as you respect me, that God has called me to do this, and I'm following what Jesus has called me to do. Even if you attack me, I've got to move on. I've got to move on because I know not everybody is going to like every decision that I make. Not everybody is going to like everything that I do and every direction that I move. But you've got to be confident in God to say, God, I'm going to follow you. And no matter what it costs me, I'm going to follow you, Jesus. I'm going to give you my heart. I'm going to give you my life. I'm going to give you all of my creativity. I'm going to give you everything. So don't fight what God sends in your life to prepare you. Sheep prepared David for the throne. God said, if a man would take this much care with sheep, if he would risk his life and fight a lion, if he would risk his life and fight a bear to protect sheep, what will he do with my people? God says, that's the kind of person that I want. The sheep became his proving ground. The sheep became the thing that showed whether he had the right heart or not. And this is why if you're faithful over that which is least, if you take care of the little money that you've got, if you take care of the few people who are in your care, under your stewardship, God will then trust you with more. He'll trust you with more. Just trust the process. Trust the process. Trust the process. Don't despise what God will use to prepare you for what is ahead. Don't despise it. Because you will be tempted to quit when it gets difficult, and when it gets challenging, and when people criticize you, and when the money gets tight. You will be tempted to quit when you have to jump through various hoops, and when it takes a lot of time and you get frustrated and you're dealing with tests and temptations and trials, and all of these things are happening. You'll be tempted to quit, but don't quit. Just remember the truth of James chapter 1 and verse 12. Notice what he says. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those that who love him. The question is this: can you stand to be blessed? Can you stand to be blessed? Can you stand? Can you persevere to be blessed? Can you stand to be blessed? See, some people are saying, bless me, Lord, but you got to be able to stand the blessing. Because here is a spiritual principle that Jesus taught us. Jesus taught us this principle, that blessings come with persecution. Because if you get blessed by God, now somebody's going to look at you and start saying, you know what, she thinks she all that. Blessings come with persecution. People are going to assign wrong motives to you. Blessings come with persecution. persecution. The question is, can you stand to be blessed? Can you stand to be criticized? Can you stand to be talked about? Because blessings come with persecution. Blessings come with persecution. Blessings come with another level of trial. It comes, if you got to be blessed to be a mother, it comes with the trial of having to get up in the night. And that baby is always on your lap. And when they get to a place where they're no longer on your lap, they're on your heart. Can you stand to be blessed? Can you stand to be blessed? If you're blessed with a business, it's a blessing to be able to have a business, but now comes a burden of responsibility in trying to carry the thing that is the blessing. There's a burden that comes with it. Before a blessing is born, a burden is carried. And you carry it as a burden, and then you bless it. You carry it out. And the question is, can you stand to be blessed? Can you stand to be blessed? Whatever it is, can you stand to be blessed? Can you stand to be blessed? Because if you get in a blessed position and people will say, you know how she got the job. She done slept her way there. And they will accuse you of things that are not even true. And the question is, can you stand to be blessed? Can you, declares the Lord, and like a hammer that breaks the rock in pieces. See, you don't feel good when God is putting you in a fire and then taking a hammer and breaking things off of your life, and then you lose relationships. And then you start losing possessions. But isn't it amazing how God can let you lose some things and then you find the real thing? See, it's God's process. Trust the process. Trust the process. It'll look like you'll start losing stuff, but what it is God is chiseling away from you things that don't fit the image of who He has called you to be. That's why you lose relationships and you lose some friends and you lose some contact with some family members, because God is chiseling you into a new person, and this does not fit the image of who you are. It's nothing personal. It's just that this doesn't fit the image. All of it is a part of the valuable hunk of marble, but the great sculptor is taking the tool of the hammer and he's breaking the rock in pieces, and valuable chunks of your marble are falling off because they do not fit the image of who God has called you to be. And you see, there are some things that God will use the fire to help you process, especially when your life gets out of focus. Say focus. It's interesting, the word focus actually is a Latin word. The word in Latin is actually focus. And guess what it literally means? Guess what the word focus literally means? It means fireplace. Fireplace. It actually means fire. Fireplace, the hearth, where the fireplace is, or place of convergence. Focus means the place of fire. Whenever, please hear me by the Spirit, whenever you lose your focus, it's because you've lost your fire. The process, trust the process. You're in a process today. God has you in process. He uses fire to get you done. Stop trying to jump out of the oven because it's hot. It's supposed to be hot. It's killing infection and bacteria. God's got a purpose for your fire. Don't lose the focus. He said in Malachi chapter 3 and verse 3, he said, He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. And He will purify the Levites, and He will refine them like gold and silver. And then the Lord will have men who will bring offerings in righteousness. See, to purify silver and gold, you need fire. And you add zinc or you add nitric acid to it. And then the alloys and the other impurities, they will rise. And then you skim off those impurities, and what you're left with is solid silver. Solid gold will remain intact, because fire exposes what's not real. Fire exposes what's not real. You got to have people that can walk with you through the fire. Not just in the good time, but folks show you who they really are. When you get sick, they show you when you lose your job for several months. You find out who your real friends are, because fire always exposes what's real. And let me just say to you that hitting rock bottom is an integral part of the process to how God oftentimes changes our life. When we reach rock bottom, our habits seem to compound on one another, and then all of our coping mechanisms then spiral out of control. That's how you know that you have reached rock bottom. Pearl Bailey said that you never find yourself until you face the truth. You never find yourself until you face the truth. And rock bottom is oftentimes a defining moment. It's a turning point for a lot of people. It's a turning point. It's a turning point. I mean, why? Why is rock bottom a turning point? Is it because of the epiphany that you have in terms of the experiences? Not generally. It's because you reach this point where you begin to think this way: I never want to feel this way again. I never want to feel this way again. I never want to feel this way again. And this is not just an idea. This becomes a resolve. This becomes your firm determination to do something. I never want to feel this way again. I never want to get into this shape again. That's when you know you've hit rock bottom, where you have this kind of resolve that no matter what it takes, I never want to feel this way again. I never want to go through that again. And sometimes you have to just be done. Not mad, not upset, just done. Just done. You got to be able to look at it and say, I'm just done. I'm finished with you. I'm done. I'm not upset. I'm just done. I've already finished that. Never again will you bring me to that place to where I'm that low again. I don't like how I felt when I was at rock bottom. I woke up when I hit the bottom, but never again, never again. You see, knowledge normally leads you to conclusions, but emotions lead you to action. And when you get to that place that I never want to feel this way again, I never want to feel this way, emotions normally lead to action. Emotion. If you don't like the way you feel, you're ready to bust a move and change. And when you decide that you honestly never want to feel a certain way again, you set out on a journey to change how you think. You set out on a journey to change what you do. And you set out on a journey to reinvent who you are. It cannot be done overnight. It can only be done over time. And when you begin to think about various things that are good to us in the world, they are really made by process. They are made by process. When you think about the grape must be crushed in order to make the wine. It has to go through a crushing. The diamond is formed by pressure. Pressure forms the diamond. You cannot get a diamond without pressure. The olive must be pressed in order to get the oil. You cannot have olive oil without the pressing of the olive. And the seed must endure darkness in order for it to come into blossom. When you go through as a seed, darkness is a part of the process. And there are some of you who are in this place today that you have been planted like a seed and you're in darkness because you can't see what God is doing. And it feels uncomfortable. And it's unnerving. It's a scary situation because you're in the dark. The seed unravels in the dark. The very place of your transformation happens in discomfort. It is when as the seed begins to crack and disembowel and the stuff that is on the inside, but what causes it to open up is that it is planted in darkness, and moisture then causes it to crack open. And at the very time, if you don't understand the process of God, you got to trust Him when it feels like you're falling apart from the inside. But God lets you seemingly fall apart from the inside in order to get you rooted. Because something has got to come out of you to get you rooted. And then you must see that you are a work in progress. God's not finished with you yet. Some of you are that grape, and you will be a costly wine, a fine wine. But you don't make fine wine overnight. And you don't make it without the crushing of the grapes. Don't despise the crushing. Some of you feel like a rock, but you're really a diamond. It takes friction to polish you. And you don't even understand, why am I under so much pressure? Oh my God, why am I so much pressure, so much to do. So many people that can't seem to follow instructions. One trial after another, pressure. The diamond is formed under pressure. I wonder what God is forming in you in order to get the oil. You don't get oil without a pressing. And you cannot become a tree and bear fruit without going in darkness, because you wonder, why is it that nobody is calling me? Why are they not beating a path to my door? Why don't I get a lot of likes on my social media? You're in darkness. You're on the backside of the mountain. God hid Moses for 40 years. Some of you have been hidden for a long time. It's not because anything was wrong with your seed. It just wasn't your time. There's seed time and then harvest. Don't you dare die right before your harvest. God has you hidden for purpose. It's a part of the process. Crushing is a part of the process. Pressure is a part of the process. Pressing is a part of the process. Darkness is a part of the process. Can you trust God's heart when you cannot trace his hand? You can't figure out, God, what are you doing? I don't know what you're doing, but God, I trust you. Why would you let the one that encouraged me so much die before I finished what I was supposed to do? Maybe they were just supposed to get you on the track, going down the track. They knew before they left that you would get there. They did what they were supposed to do. They got you on the on-ramp. And as long as they got you on the road, they knew my baby will be all right. I got them on the right track. You just get them on the right track and then pray for the wind. Get them on the right track and pray for the wind. Huh? Get them on the right track, pray for the wind. You just get them on the right track. Trust the process. Trust the process. Trust the process. Don't you think that God is going to let you birth something and what you birth die. Trust the process even when you can't see it.